Anglesey is rather special. Like, we all have this one thing in common, and I think it's just the knowledge that we're all very lucky to live where we live. It's just a family vibe. I don't know what it is about it. It is just a family vibe to Anglesey. And so there's always things going on for everybody. And it's really great to be part of that.
This is Richard Holt, native to Anglesey, an island off the coast of northwest Wales. Richard worked in London as the head pastry chef for celebrity restaurateur Marcus Waring. On the island, Richard has become famous for his social media presence, an exciting but challenging project.
I like working with Richard.
Yeah. He's a hard taskmaster, I'll say that, but he's fair, yes. Yeah. He knows what he wants, that's what the thing is, yeah.
When I first met him, he was very much work, 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 work. And I mean, he still is, but it's, I don't know, I guess his idea of work has sort of broadened a bit because the whole family's come on board. It's, family is now part of work.
He's lovely. He drives you nuts sometimes though. Drives you absolutely crazy. He'll come in some mornings in like a giggly mood. And then the jokes, that's the worst part. Some of the jokes he makes are just, oh, terrible.
Follow me to the jungle.
I think he's, I don't know, being a chef in London is a very high pressure, hectic situation. And I don't know, I mean, he is still hectic now, but it's like, I don't know, just a slower pace of still being crazy busy, if that makes sense. Like he's doing more what I would class as relaxing, enjoyable things. But that might just be me, because I thought of working in a London kitchen is not my idea of fun at all.
My name is Richard Holt and I run the last working windmill in Wales. We're here today at Melin, Llynon, and I'm going to show you around.
In 2019, Richard returned home, taking ownership of one of Anglesey's oldest mills, to prevent it from closure and going into ruin. At Melin Llynon, Richard is often compared with Roald Dahl's Willy Wonka, wearing an iconic suit and top hat, brandishing a walking stick, and running a colourful chocolate factory.
So this is what the mill looked like before it was restored. So in the 80s, the council decided to restore one mill on Anglesey, and they chose this one. And so in the 50s it looked like this. By the late 70s, I think the whole sales situation all fallen off or whatever. So this gentleman here, his name is Robert Rowlands, and he was the last man to run this mill back in the day. Now he wears like a three-piece suit, and he has a cane, and he wears a hat. And so I am not dressed like Willy Wonka, I dress like Robert Rowlands. Right, go in. attach your bag of grain to the bottom on the ground floor, and then you pull this rope, again from the ground floor, and then it engages this chain, and then the chain lifts the bag of grain up through the trapdoors, up through 2 levels to the top of the mill. So the mill literally does all the work for you, and it will open and close the trapdoors as it goes up. So I like to joke it's a self-raising mill. I miss making these tools and saying that joke. But yeah, that's true. And kids used to love hanging on to this and going up as well. No, we're not doing that today, but yes, that's one of the things that we used to do. Cool, huh? If you grew up on Anglesey, you just know about Melin Llynon. It's part of the community throughout the whole island. However, it is only one of 48 windmills that used to be here, and we're actually like mega famous for this because we're an island with coastal weather, it's windy and it's wet, so we also had like a ton of water mills. But it is now the last surviving windmill in Wales. Not just Anglesey, in Wales.
Richard first talked to us about the mill. He asked us to come and see it with him, saying that it was up for lease and that he would love to open a tea room here, serving his patisserie. I remember his father saying, oh, you can't just serve cakes, he said, you've got to offer something else. I think he was thinking along the lines of soup and sandwiches, but Richard was adamant that he only wanted to serve his patisserie cakes.
This is our first bar of chocolate. I had to look like a Wonka bar. That was the key. It has to look like a Wonka bar, and it has to be Welsh. Oh. And it's pretty cool. Come on in. I'll have to hold it for a minute. There we go. So this is the chocolate factory. Now we have a few different types of chocolate that we do, and one of which is the goo bar, which is a filled chocolate. So it's a layer of brownie and then a layer of caramel, and it's coated in chocolate. But it starts like this, with the shell, okay? So we have to fill these with chocolate, then empty them out, and then it kind of leaves us with a cavity. And if it's tempered properly, these should just fall out. There we go. Like so. And then these are filled with caramel. We put a slab of brownie on top, and then coated in chocolate again, and then they turn out to be these chunky monkeys. Look at that for a chocolate bar, eh? Insane, huh? Cool, huh? No, you cannot go swimming. We've absolutely outgrown this room though. It's tiny. I think we outgrew it within the first day, to be quite honest with you. But one day I'd like to expand. In fact, one day I'd like to own a real life chocolate factory and open that up as a tourist attraction as well, and make it like a proper Wonka real experience day. Do you know what I mean? That'd be cool. That'd be cool. It would be good, wouldn't it?
In the gear as well, the outfit.
Oh yeah. And then you can lick the wallpaper, and you can take a leaf off a tree and eat it, and you can go swimming in a chocolate river. Can you imagine that?
If you don't do that, I'll be disappointed.
Me too. Maybe I'll write that down and put it in my wallet.
That's the next one.
That'll be it. By 40, that's what I'll have.
Yeah.
Chocolate factory. And then for the rest of my years, that's what I'll do.
All of the staff at Melin Llynon is a part of Richard's family, helping run the business every day.
It's very much a family business, like it's Rich, me, my mum works here, Rich's mum, his sister, his dad's here nearly every day. And Hugh's known Rich longer than me, so he's almost like a little brother to us, I would say. And yeah, it's just, like I was saying, like because everyone knows how to do everything, it's really easy to rely on each other, and you never worry that if you miss a day that everything's going to grind to a halt, because everyone's so good at just picking up the slack and taking on extra responsibilities and just getting what needs to be done really.
I think it's brilliant working with family, because I have 2 children now. Obviously they're grown up, and I get the opportunity now to see them nearly every day, whereas before, when I worked elsewhere, it could have been, you know, a month could go by and I wouldn't see either of them. So yes, it's great working with family. Yeah.
So during these stressful times, working with family has a massive positive note and it has a very, very, very heavy negative note. So on the positive side, we're here to support each other. We are on the same wavelength. We are all invested as much as each other. The big heavy negative though is the fact that I am responsible for my family's salary. That's a heavy burden to bear, and my decisions affect everything, and ultimately it's my decisions that are going to mean that we either survive or fail in this situation, and that's yet to be determined. So it's a tough one. So this is my mum. How's it going? Mum keeps everything organised and keeps everybody in check, don't you, Mum?
Try my best.
and extinguishes any problems that we might have, like what's just come through the post today. Well, less said about that the better. I'm convinced we're going to make them that I did it. I'll show you how many more come out. They'll do it. Man, okay. Yeah.
No worries.
And sorry to say, man, it goes really. Ideal. So the bright, sparkly future for Melin Llynon, the idyllic situation, is that it turns into the most family-friendly, fun thing for everybody. So like, no matter what age you are, you'll come here and you'll enjoy yourself. I just want it to be the most amazing place on Anglesey. So here's something I don't hear many businesses talking about. We honestly might not make it to next year. And it's not because we're not busy, and it's not because we're not selling enough things. It's certainly not because you're not supporting us enough. It's none of that. It's because of our costs. Unfortunately, right now, everything's a little bit shaky, and because we're living in rather worrying times. Earlier this year, we anticipated some price increases because we were warned about them by our suppliers. And so we adjusted to try and work towards it, and we were exhausted doing it. We exhausted all our kind of ourselves, and also we exhausted our resources, which means money, by the way. We were running low on money by just trying to work out new things to do, such as the safari and the goo bars. But then the price increases just didn't stop coming. They were just getting higher and higher every week, and they're not stopping still, and they're still going to go up for the rest of the year, apparently. So it's beyond trying to fix it now. It's just like, what's going to be is going to be. There's a very real possibility that we might not make it. And I don't know what to do. It's crazy. So let's just enjoy every minute. Every minute we got. Just gotta enjoy it. And just hope things get better. Quite often in my career, I've taken myself to a point where it's so stressful that I've had to quit. And every time this has happened, my parents have been very, very supportive. So I think it's like me intentionally trying to throw myself into the deep end of situations and trying to push myself harder than I'm capable. And I've met my limit often, very often. And I always feel like a failure for a good few months afterwards. And then I have to try and pick myself up in certain ways. And the best way to do it has always been to come home.
So he didn't get much time off, but when he did, he'd jump on a train and he'd ring me and he'd say, "Mum, can you come and pick me up at Bangor Station?" And the first thing he'd say when he got off the train every time was, "Oh, fresh air." So it was a big difference, you know, from living and working in London. And then we'd be driving home onto Anglesey, and it just amazed him how green our home is compared to where he was in London.
I was always like being thrown out into sea and then reeled back in, and that happened constantly. So it was no surprise when I came back from London home, but I was feeling possibly the lowest I'd ever felt. And then I wanted to go on a little holiday, and I realised I couldn't afford it. London had wiped me dry. I had a great job in London, but I had no money because rent was so high and everything. I was in debt. It was just horrific. And so I made a decision at one point to stop worrying about money, because that is the reason I was so down, was because I was worried about money. And so I realised I either needed enough money that it didn't bother me, or I needed a lifestyle where having no money didn't bother me. Which is when I started doing just what I love doing, which is cakes.
Even though he enjoyed his time in London and of course did all his training and learned his craft there, I knew he was always going to come home. Yeah.
It's great. We all know that we're just having a time of our lives, and it literally is heaven here. And I can't really explain it in any other way, to be quite honest with you. Yes, that's it. Do I look decent?
Yeah, nearly.
Okay, are you ready?